Warning.
Watch very closely now. 3, 2, 1. Bzow! Check that out.
The following podcast features terrible jokes.
Did you know you can use Hot Wheels cars when you need to make a saving throw in D&D? Every car is die-cast.
Usually about board games.
We want the fun. Gotta have that fun.
Must insist that no one attempt to recreate any joke performed on this podcast.
We had less technical issues than $1 million company.
All right!
This is Boards and Swords.
Good evening, everybody. What's Monday night, and welcome to Boards and Swords. I'm one of your hosts. My name's Chris Renshaw, and I'm going to hit the right button this time and flip it over. With me, as always, is my partner in crime, Mr. Philip Herbig.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the lovely disaster we call Boards and Swords.
The controlled disaster, that is. And joining us this week, we have Rowan from Rascal.news.
Hello, thank you so much for having me. That intro, so good. Love a good bad joke.
Oh, just you wait.
Oh, I'm ready. I'm bracing myself. I was a stand-up comedian for 2 years. I'm here for it. I've heard enough bad jokes to fill a lifetime.
Nice. So, for those that haven't been paying attention when I've occasionally snuck in a Rascal article onto the show, what is Rascal?
Rascal News is a worker-owned independent journalism outlet focusing on tabletop role-playing games. We are 4 intrepid journalists who are trying to pave a new way for journalism in the modern era by doing direct-to-subscriber funded journalism in the tabletop space because we believe the industry deserves that kind of dedicated coverage. We have a significant background from people in all different spaces. We have Chase Carter, who is working at Dicebreaker. We have Thomas Manuel from Yes Indeed. We have Kaylin Ellis, who's written a bunch about miniatures and so many different places. And then you have me. I've written for Polygon and a bunch of other places, including that. I focus on actual play and tabletop and the intersection of politics and games. I'm really excited to be here and to chat with you guys about everything we're doing.
Yeah, that's... No, I'm just saying, because you mentioned the politics of games, and then I will explain further when we get to our news bit. But, but yeah, it's really nice because as someone that curates news from various sites like Rascal, but it was definitely hard last year when a bunch of them started dropping like flies just for the, like, Dicebreaker was gone. There was another, it was like tabletopgamingnews.com. It went as well. And so I was like, I need more sources.
And that's why we're here. Yeah, the reason we started is literally because Lynn Kodega, who broke the OGL story and all the Pinkertons at Hasbro's story, ended up getting laid off of IO9 and had nowhere else to write about things. I was a journalist who didn't have anywhere to write because I graduated college and then walked into this fire that everything is. And we were like, well, let's make something ourselves so at least we can try.
Yeah. As someone who graduated in 2008, I feel your pain.
Solidarity, honestly, Jesus. Oh.
And with that, let's. Speaking of which, let's do some news.
News.
Okay, I'm gonna put it on me for a second because I got to stare at the camera for a second. Listeners, we have to have a talk here. All right. The world is on fire. All right. This is a news segment. It's so hard to make a news segment these days without being depressed, but I managed somehow to do it. So here's the rules we're gonna do. We're not gonna, at least in the next short segment, whatever we get into talking about later, that'll be one thing. I'm not gonna talk about all these places closing. I'm not gonna talk about people not going to Gen Con. I make one tariff reference, and that's because any chance I get a chance to make fun of the Hasbro CEO, I'm going to take it. But other than that, so I decided to actually do some good, and we're going to focus on a couple of good stories of things that are coming out, and that's my way of moving forward. And I forgot to actually move my camera down. All right, there we go. So, This first but by the way, you guys might want to go ahead and check this out. But this first project doesn't have Aidalon left to back if you're interested.
Ayo.
So Hubworld Eidalon is up on GameFound right now, and I say this because I believe, it only has like it's hard for me to look, but I feel like it's only got like
7 days.
7 days. Okay. This I am actually really interested in. It's by Earthborne Games, who we've had on the show here. So that's an awesome company, but there is a lot of stuff in this game. Like I knew about it before it jumped up on GameFound, and then like Covenant was giving away free decks. You just had to pay for shipping. So I have them, haven't played that, but that's a separate conversation. But on the hub world of Eidalon, there is a no problem that a fistful of shards can't solve. Build out your sphere of influence and race to keep your foothold through cunning and subterfuge in this sustainably produced, competitive, expandable card game for 2 to 4 players. So, as we talked about with Earthborne Games, trying to, make the games more sustainable. But I'm pretty sure this is probably set in that same world. And it's got kind of that competitive LCG environment, because I know a lot of the people from Earthborne Games have that FFG background. So I've been hearing a lot on Blue Sky about how this game is basically like the spiritual successor to Android Netrunner. Like a lot of and it's because a lot of the people that worked on Android Netrunner are now working on this. Except for the one comment I've heard is that instead of having separate corp and runner decks, it kind of does both with one deck. Because I know, and Phil, we talked about this briefly in our bonus bits. Phil, that was not a fan for Netrunner because you're not a fan of the asymmetric gameplay. Yeah. But the artwork is amazing. First of all. But let's see if I can get here. Yeah, non-collectible competitive card game of daring espionage, deduction, and suspense for 2 to 4 players. Eidalon.
Love non-collectible. That's such an important little shout out right there.
Yeah. No. That's where I'm saying that whole LCG aspect from. But at the same time, learning the best about that, where everything you need is in one box instead of having to buy like 3 core sets to get like 3 copies of the cards. But Aidalon was once the busiest hub world in the galaxy. Then the Collective arrived. Their portal technology connected all worlds, making space travel obsolete. Its shipyards became scrapyards, yet its people preserved. I don't know why, but this picture just reminds me of Rick and Morty.
Yeah, absolutely.
Especially the one where they like go inside their battery.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
So trying to see if I can scroll through and get to some of the actual card. There we go. So you can even see like you've got like the Seeker, and then you've got some of the like I'm gonna use the, I don't know the term, so I'm gonna use the Netrunner sense, where you've got like ice basically protecting your stuff. Let's see. And so here you go. This is the core set here, or the Prime Collective with all the cards. $80, which, that is more than what you used to spend, but again, like I said, it contains basically like look at that giant stack of cards there, and I'm pretty sure that's probably not even all the cards.
That's probably not, and it's more than we used to spend. But I mean, we bought 2 $60 X-wing core sets.
Exactly.
And then it's like, oh, I need these other cards for my TIE fighters that only come in the A-wings, so I got to buy 6 A-wings now.
Yep. Sorry, I tried to scroll through. Yeah, so here you go. You've got like all the different cards. So lots of stuff here on this page. So if you've been someone that's been a fan of some of the competitive FFG LCGs, then you're definitely going to want to check this set out. And I would also go to Team Covenant, because you might still be able to get some of the demo decks. They were just handing, like literally it was, you pay the $8 for shipping, and they were mailing 2 pairs of them out.
Very nice.
All right. Moving along. Let me just see. So my friend Jennifer helped me get started on a project. It was a real Jen assist.
You were right. You were right. I was not prepared.
That's fun. Sorry, look at the chat. Listeners, y'all gotta get real cool about a few things real fast.
Real. Yep.
This is
Don't worry, Rowan. Everyone starts out that way. Everyone's like, I can handle Chris's jokes, and then at the end of the news segment, I want to go home.
Oh, no. Keep them coming. I am ready. The depths of the depravity. I'm here for it.
Yep. I'm gonna file this game in the. I heard about as much as this as I have Trench Crusade, and it's kind of got very similar sort of backing behind it. Like basically, all my advertising on social media has been this game for the past like 3 weeks. Zeogenesis Scalable Skirmish game. So it is a skirmish miniatures game, like a mech game, featuring big armor suits locked in kinetic action. But it's designed by Andy Chambers with a narrative by Gav Thorpe. Those are GW people, by the way. Like Andy Chambers did a whole bunch of Warhammer 40K work in some of the earlier, like I want to say it was like 3rd, 4th, and 5th edition. And Gav Thorpe has written like a third of the Horus Heresy. So this is like serious pedigree behind it. Not to mention the fact it's a giant mech game. So Philip, look, big armor suits.
Yeah, I'm trying to visualize 65 millimeters.
Okay, so imagine
that's 6.5 centimeters.
Imagine double a Space Marine.
Double a Space Marine. I got that.
Because like your average Space Marine is like 32 millimeters. So yeah, imagine double a Space Marine. So yeah, that's not a this is like chess piece size basically. Oh, and you can get a free miniature just by following.
That's right. I mean, you probably have to back too.
It says just for following.
It does. It does.
So as of by the time that you hear this podcast, it will probably already be out because it says it starts in 15 hours. But yeah, so we don't have a ton of news, but it's definitely going to be something to look at just from looking at like the artwork and stuff. I would almost guarantee this is going to be in that style of Trench Crusade, where it is a STL kind of game, where when you back it, you're going to get a bunch of files for STLs, and then when it's over, they'll probably like sell a book as well. But especially given everything I caveated at the beginning of this, it's kind of like the path forward for at least on mini games for backing is here. We're just going to give you the files and you print them.
And you print them.
Yeah,
Print them
you
in
pay for
GW. Oh, yeah, pay for the resin and the And then if you want, you print them in GW Titan scale and go to town.
That is true. Then you got to buy a couple of bottles of resin.
A couple of.
And Sean, you can hush with metal, all right? Metal, I've put together metal minis and they are awful. Oh, so apparently it's going to be physical and STL. And it was all physical until people flooded them with requests for STL. Probably from everything going on and the fact of how well Trench Crusade did. Like, that really was kind of a benchmark with with minis games. Oh, you did.
Sean
You seen
that's a skill issue, Chris.
Fair. Fair. Entirely fair. Oh, wait, there's a trailer here.
Shots fired from the chat.
So, okay, so yeah, you can see like the box set there. And looks like I'm hoping that terrain is in the box, because having some cardboard terrain is really nice. I'm getting Mad Cat vibes off of that little short stubby dude. But it's great.
He's me here technically as a Timberwolf.
I know. You're right.
Actually,
When you're right, you're right. All right, Philip. That's the scalable skirmish part. Is you just make the you just scale
Yeah,
2.0.
you just go into your 3D
scale
printer and you're like
3.0.
300%.
I'm pretty sure that's not what they mean. If I had to guess, it's probably that it does different sizes of game. But Philip, are you does this intrigue you at all?
Games include 1 to 4. Oh, it's Power Rangers. It says Zeo units.
Yeah. It's called
We're good.
Zeogenesis.
It's new Power Rangers.
So that's just the end of the first Power Rangers series, the Zeogenesis.
Got
I
it.
think Philip was distracted by the Genesis. I don't know.
Genesis took me to Evangelion, and I was just like, that's it. Wow.
Pretty much.
Fair. Yeah.
All right. Let's see. Beautiful. Okay. Let's see. High. Let's see. HPS. I think that's high polystyrene. I think I could be wrong on that one. But yeah, no. So I'm just announcing it here first because I imagine the next 3 weeks you're gonna see like every minis news person probably post about this, and I can say
Oh,
I wasn't
I'm sure
first.
Kaylin has feelings.
Yeah, I can say I wasn't first, but I wasn't last either. All right. Did I tell you about the adventurer that defeated a bunch of monsters from a canoe? Yeah, heroes.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Philip, I've got another. So this confused me because Beetle posted this in our Discord, and I was very confused because, like, I saw in some instances they called this Gamers 2 Attack of the Pones, and I was like, but no, Darkness Rising was Gamers 2. So
Okay.
this is the original movie, The Gamers 2. Where it's focusing on that. So basically there's like a fork in the timeline where like a couple of different things are happening at once. And this is following like in the movie The Gamers, their characters end up in the real world, and this is basically continuing onwards from that versus the other movies like Darkness Rising and Hands of Fate, which has the gamers go into the game world, and that's where the new movie we backed. That's like Darkness Falls, I think is what it was.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
okay.
yeah, so this is another movie, same people, or same creative staff behind it, but
That's loud.
the gamers Attack of the Pones. The original gamers return for the heist of a lifetime. Which, by the way, I learned all this because it talks about the story. So yeah, 24 years ago was when the original Gamers movie came out in November of 2001. You could tell too if you ever watch it.
Oh yeah.
It's
those are,
definitely in a we just found this VHS camera and went nuts. But apparently this has already been shot. So this is a continuation for Gamers, the series. And then it started with the Gamers Shadow, was it Shadow Crusade or Shadow Menace? Shadow Menace. And then now this sequel, Attack of the Pones. So basically, it gets a little bit kind of political in a parody sort of sense, where just like it turns out all the bad things happening in our world are done from this evil bad guy from the game world.
Huh.
So, Philip, do you remember The Shadow? The Shadow. It was in the movie every time.
The one from the gamers.
One from the gamers.
Not the who knows what evil lurks in the hearts of men.
No. I'm talking about the one with like
not that one.
The Shadow.
Okay.
The Shadow. Our heroes learn that the Shadow's operatives are about a politician whose private militia may hide a supernatural secret. Using the unpublished Fartherall modern supplement, they take on fantasy adventures in our modern world, culminating in an explosive turn-based car chase. Yeah, if you play the trailer, they're like, oh, they're describing a car chase, and they're like, oh, the car catches up and starts shooting you. They're like, we were all the way ahead, and they're like, turn-based combat. What can I say? So there's recaps in here if you've not been fully privy to that. But I will say that if you think this is somewhat if you think this show is somewhat entertaining, you're gonna love the stuff from here. From was it Dead Gentleman's? Where is it? Yeah, Dead Gentleman's Productions. So I won't play. Let's see. Actually, will the audio play? Trying to see. Oh, it's playing, but it's not
No
playing.
audio on this side.
Yeah, it's not playing on
Yeah,
this
not
side.
coming through.
Yeah, it's going straight to the stream and bypass. That's the one area that's not listed on there. But all right. Anyways, so yeah, there's a whole bunch of stuff. So like yeah, like right here they've got like all the different gamers videos, which I think if you go to their website you can watch. There's links like Rusty Beetle says there's most of the movies are on YouTube and they link to them on their website. Oh yeah, here. This is what I found out where it's the chronology of like basically what's happened between the two movie series. And that's why cuz I kept getting confused by it. But yeah. Rowan, have you ever heard of their work before?
I had only ever heard of it when I saw this like circulating.
Uh-huh.
And then I went back and looked at it and I was like, oh yeah, this is very early YouTube. Exactly what you were like. Yeah, they filmed it on their VHS. They made a little web series of it. I love people doing that. I think people just being like, fuck it, I'm just going to do it myself.
Yeah, exactly.
Pristine.
I would say you should. It's a little bit better production-wise, but Darkness Rising is kind of like the biggest hit per se. Like it was on Netflix for a while. That's how I originally watched it. Was on Netflix, and it's like very like all the tropes of like imagine like early 2000s RPGs come to life. Like I said, that's where I was talking about. There's the guy that has like the character sheet stacked because he always ends up dying. And
Beetle from the chat, he has the metal mini version of the pile of dead bards.
It becomes a plot point in the thing that all these bards that have died in the same fight, well, there must be a mound of dead bards somewhere. So I was like, we need cover so we can cast the spell. And they're like, hide under the pile of dead bards.
Oh my god.
So yeah. The first, I figured that considering the first movie is like shot in a dorm room, I kind of figured it was like a school project.
That was very much how when I was like in high school and college, you just have a camera, you're like, all right, well, gonna make something.
Yeah,
I'm
exactly.
itching to make something. Me and my friends are funny.
How do you think this show's starting? Only it wasn't college, but yeah. Hey, I've got this microphone. Let's see.
Yeah, podcasts have really taken the place these days.
Yeah. Yeah, so you can get like the ultimate bundle, if you really want to go all in, but you can get access for just as little as $10 to get to, to get early access to watching it. Versus if you need to have it downloaded, there's other options as well, or you can get the ultimate of like everything, including miniatures files of like the dungeon. I guess I'm assuming that's probably like the dungeon that they run in the thing. But yeah, no, highly recommend.
That's really smart.
Yeah. It's like when NASA produced that D&D 5e adventure. I was like, bravo.
Which you can read an article of. We did an interview with them on rascal.news.
That's right. That's right. Their Demon Hunters thing is also in there. Humans and the making things. Yep, pretty much. I was going to say something and I've completely forgotten. But yeah, it's at 18 days left and they're at like a third of their goal, 51,000 out of 145,000. So Philip, I need you to back at the get your name in the credits level.
I can design a card.
There you go. Get one of those executive
Oh,
director.
and production credit. See, it's and production credit. That's what it is.
There you go. That's what they're waiting for. All right. This next news, this Star Wars news, is Hoth off the presses.
That one was good. That one was great.
Even though it's not really, this news story is like 2 years old or 2 weeks old. But yeah, Days of Wonder announced that they're doing a Star Wars minis game, and as soon as they like showed some of the cards and it was from the Days of Wonder, like I was like, but what? Because I mean, there's a lot of Star Wars games out there, but Days of Wonder is one of those. And in case you don't recognize that, Days of Wonder is the people that make Ticket to Ride.
Oh. Oh.
So we're not talking about just anyone here in the game space. And in fact, let me scroll down through here. Play through the iconic Battle of Hoth either as a standalone skirmish or as a campaign where wins and losses affect the next mission. Days of Wonder has announced an upcoming Battle of Hoth board game. It'll be a fast-paced miniatures game, obviously set on the ice planet Hoth from the Star Wars universe. The battle is one of the most iconic and memorable battles in all of cinema from The Empire Strikes Back. So basically, from what I've seen, yeah, the Battle of Hoth board game will be set on the Command and Color system. So if you've ever played, and Beetle mentions in the chat, Memoir 44, or there's the Command and Colors series, it was like Command and Colors Ancients or whatever, where in this system, players take turns choosing command cards, and the cards dictate what units you activate. So I don't know how much it's going to be in this game. Oh, you can actually see it. Okay, so do you see how the board is divided with these red lines?
Mm-hmm.
So the way that Memoir 44 works is that each card will say what type of unit in what theater, and each theater is a different segment of the board. And so, like, if I want to activate someone on the far left, I need to play like a left theater card. So if you don't have a left theater card, it doesn't matter what your opponent's doing on that side. Like, crap, I just got to push. I just got to make sure and do something on the other two sides that I have stuff for until I can get to the point where I draw a card to activate that side of the board. So it's a very different, you know, from your kind of your standard minis war game, your war game board game kind of thing. Yeah, it's a board game with a few minis, where you know just you could activate whatever in whatever order. This is like you got to be smart about playing a card. Like maybe there's nothing going on the left theater right now, but I kind of want to hang on to this card just in case he pushes that side and I need to respond, kind of thing. Not to mention, this has got some very cool ATST or ATAT minis. Obviously not to scale, considering that the the guy right there is like half the size.
Those are just
Yeah.
really big guys.
Yeah. Those are the ATSTs, is those size.
There you go.
You even got some, let's see, we even got some turrets in here. And it sounds like it's going to be somewhat of a legacy system, where they were talking about how it campaign where wins and
Campaign
losses
stuff affects
the next mission. Yeah. 17 different scenarios. The missions can be played as one-shot games for a quick game that won't even take an hour, or you can dive into the full narrative campaign. Oh, okay. A couple scenarios that carry over to the next. They're mini campaigns, but no full campaign. Lord Vader, we've sent our biggest guys. Oh, okay. 2 separate multi-scenario campaigns. Gotcha. Yeah, so, I mean, and Richard Borg, I'm pretty sure, was one of the designers of Memoir 44. So it's not like this might be a reskin, but it's a reskin with the same people involved. So it's not like somebody else, they just like AI generated a new game. Or someone's been
never know
watching
these
the AT-AT
days.
in hot water. Yeah, I would imagine, I mean, just based on this box, this has got to easily be like a $90, $100 game.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's plenty of Star Wars games out there. Star Wars minis games, the traditionally safe and stable genre. The good news that has go to this is it's a single boxed game that could have expansion. It probably will have expansions, or it could also just be a one and done game. So it doesn't necessarily. It'll probably sell like Hoth cakes. That's another joke I could have made. That was on the spot. That wasn't even planned.
Yeah, off the dome.
Yeah. I saw an opening and I took it. All right. So now
I'm just imagining expansions for this game. Are we gonna have like Luke versus Wampa scenario?
well, yeah, because I don't see any AT8 or I don't see any snow speeders.
No snow speeders. Yeah, we need Anton's Revenge.
Yeah, and I mean, if the setting takes out, like honestly, you could do that same. Is it? What's the planet they attack? Is it Scarif that they attack in Rogue One?
Yeah, yes.
Like you could do this with Battle of Scarif.
Battles where you already know the outcome and then just rewrite it.
Yeah, exactly. Depends on if they can get it.
Classic gaming tradition, honestly.
Yeah, depends on if they can get it into the country for less than $100. Speaking of which, last story. I had to make sure to throw in one Rascal News article in here.
Gotta represent.
Yeah. However, I will say that your version of the article seemed to be the nicest article that I saw regarding that Chase's article versus. I'll show the later one for at least for reference. Like economic hardship won't stop fans from buying the packs, but. Yeah, Hasbro's cautious approach to tariffs depends on the more licensed Magic the Gathering potential layoffs. So, basically, Hasbro is not that, at least when they address their shareholders, not that concerned about the tariffs affecting everything. That they would be a challenge that the company is well positioned to tackle, but that resiliency comes at the cost of a heavier reliance on proven cash cows, such as digital licensing and Magic the Gathering, or both in the case of Universes Beyond. So, but they also did hint that layoffs and price increases are going to probably come soon. So, Hasbro faced a quoted 60 to 180 million net profit impact due to tariffs, and an estimated 100 to 300 million dollar gross impact through 2025 if the current tariffs hold steady. Now, the thing of it is like, I'm pretty sure, and I think they even say here, Magic the Gathering cards are distributed in the U.S. and printed at several factories, but primarily in Cardamundi in Dallas, Texas, and North Carolina. So one of their hottest games is made here in the U.S. Just, I'm assuming that card stock has to come from somewhere.
Yeah, and you got to figure out where it comes from, and especially like. I don't know, Magic the Gathering is kind of the cash cow of the entire local gaming store industry also. So it's really holding some load-bearing weight there.
Yeah, so it looks like the Kyoto, Japan-based printer sometimes does additional stock, and that the only D&D products currently manufactured are box sets. Both contribute to an estimated $5 to $10 million tariff burden. So out of that $100 million, there only $5 to $10 million is from like Magic the Gathering and D&D, compared to, like the quote in here of Stonemaier paying nearly $1.5 million to receive all their good. But yeah, they've already announced that like the Final Fantasy Magic the Gathering set is already the hottest selling, and it's not even fully out yet.
Yeah, and like so that other headline. Not wrong.
Yeah.
People are still just going to buy it no matter the price. That's just the truth, unfortunately.
Yes. So, yeah, and so, like, that's where I was, like, them talking about this part. But I just love the quotes that got pulled in this Wargamer article, where it is, let's see, they're anticipating a drop in the mid-single digits in the consumer spending market. I think that's highly looking low, but underselling it. Let's see, where is it? Historically, Magic has been very economically macro resilient, they explained. 2008, 2009, it was growing double digits. It's a passion-based game, and collectors aren't really tied to the S&P 500 or the performance thereof. However, you want to know what is? Most of your game stores. So
Yeah, I do also think like I don't know how much you can really compare this situation right now to the 2008 recession
yeah,
because we weren't just punching ourselves in the face over and over again in 2008.
that and like, yeah. Who would have thought that addiction is tariff resistant?
He might as well have said that, truly.
Yeah, things are fine, and I certainly never lose sleep. or steal it by the pallet at Magic convention or at conventions again. Did you see the Halloween costume where someone dressed up as the people stealing the pallet of Magic cards from Gen Con like 2 years ago?
I didn't, but that's so good.
It was
That
this past
vaguely rings a bell.
it was this past year. Phil will probably try and find a link to it, but it was so good. But okay, I feel like doing the this is where we need to pull up the Winter Soldier line, where it's like he's out of line, but he's not wrong, kind of sense. Where it's like, yes,
Mhm.
everything you said is probably 100% true. However, that's not gonna. It's still kind of insensitive to say right now when every other person is talking about how their business is crumbling.
Classic corporate behavior,
Yeah.
truly.
I swear sometimes like the Hasbro CEO just needs a person that just like walks in front of him and just covers his mouth. Because like every time he talks to like press and stuff and makes a public statement, he ends up saying the worst shit possible. Like when he talked about that, how he plays in like what was it? Like one of the last ones he says where he plays in like D&D with like 40 different people.
Yup, yeah, and that they all use AI
Yeah.
to do whatever, and yeah. Just
And-
exhausting. Yeah, and it is our job to report what this man says because he is technically the most powerful person in this industry.
And it's my job to make fun of him because he's one of the most powerful people in this industry.
And it's easy. It's
and
easy,
it's
honestly.
easy. Yeah, some people didn't like.
I found the costume.
Oh, you found the
Yeah, I found the costume. I put it in the chat.
Nice. I haven't seen it
Hell
pop up
yeah.
yet. Or did you put it in the Discord chat?
No, I put it in the YouTube chat.
Oh, okay. Oh, I'm on top chat. That's why, for some reason.
I love the commitment.
No.
The cards spilling out of the boxes. That is great.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe the poor should stop eating and buy more Magic cards. I mean, you can technically eat the cards.
Well, yeah, you have a bunch of extra lands, you can just
It's fiber.
Yeah. I do need to increase my fiber.
There you go.
Oh man. No, it's yeah, like when my first draft of the news story was like there was 4 or 5 stories talking about like everything. Oh, here we'll do a quick 30-second recap. Greater Than the Games is closed. CMON is stopping any development of new games because Greater Than Games is closed. Flat River Group, which was a large part of or at least had a decent sized presence in the Gen Con hall, will not be a Gen Con this year. Also, polls have shown that up to a quarter of existing tabletop game companies will probably close from this. Let's see, have I missed anything?
No, just all the Rascal's hair falling out from constantly having to update our reporting.
Yeah, and like because I was in our local shop and just listening to them talk about, every day they're getting an email about like this is closing, this is raising prices, and they're trying to figure out how they're going to do things.
Well, there is also Stonemaier Games that announced that they are joining a class action suit against the U.S. government because of this.
Which Boardlandia, I forgot. Yeah, the website Boardlandia closed down.
Yeah, it's just going. It's happening.
Yeah, everyone at Rascal's, in fact, the dog from This Is Fine.
That is correct. Every single day.
Yeah. Uh. Oh man, I just had a. Yeah. Although I have this is the only. I will caveat all the news stories with saying I have a feeling that anyone having business problems is going to use the tariffs as a scapegoat because there was the one company, what was it? Final Frontier Games that was like, we can't fulfill our games and it's Simon's fault because they owe us like, there was like a print run they didn't pay us for, but when you dig into the post, it was like, well, yeah, they owe you money, but even if you had that money, you're probably still would have had to shut down because they had it's like, there was a series of bad decisions before we even get to the Simon not owing you money kind of thing.
Yeah, there's just it's gonna be super precedented times. Everything is gonna be normal
Yeah.
and no one's gonna use this to exploit people. Never. That
Nope.
doesn't happen in games.
Yep. So, having said that, now is a great time to turn back to talking about Rascal. Or I guess let's first start with you. How did you get into tabletop games?
So I got into tabletop games when I was really young. I was like, well, I guess not super young, but I was 16, so young enough.
That's
It was my
par.
friend's sweet 16. He was just like, I'm just gonna hang out with my friends for my birthday, and one of our friends had been playing games since he was like 6, which is why I'm like, I guess not that young. And he ran 3.5 for us, and I was like, oh, this is something's here.
Yeah.
Because I unfortunately was a theater kid. I don't know if you can get that from my general vibe, but so I did that, got out of it for a while, went to college, got kicked out of college for reasons, it happens. And then I went back home and had nothing to do when I was working full time, so I started running games for that same group of friends. Did that for a couple of years, got really into the Dungeon Masters block, if you know that podcast. Great group of guys over there also. Got really into that, started running games, and then it like kind of fell away for a couple of years as I moved through life because that's just kind of what happens after college. Then I started doing stand-up comedy. I started doing stand-up comedy journalism. I started shifting from stand-up comedy journalism to psychedelic journalism.
Okay, what is I need more explanation here on what is psychedelic journalism.
Journalism about psychedelics and the psychedelic industry.
Oh, okay. I feel like I probably should have grasped that better.
It does involve doing a lot of psychedelics, if that was what you
There
were
we go. I was
wondering.
thinking that. I was like, you drop acid and report the news?
You drop acid, it informs your worldview, and then you dive deep into the industries that want to legalize ketamine and all these other drugs. It's a lot. So with that, I ended up doing a deep dive investigation into people saying that their ADHD medication wasn't as effective as it once was. Went real deep in that for a while. Ended up uncovering some stuff that I was not getting paid enough money to do. Had some black vans parked outside of my apartment. Went,
Ooh.
all right, I don't think I need to do this
Ooh.
anymore because I got paid $400 for this article. And then I shifted to writing about tabletop games.
So you had your own Pinkertons.
I did. I absolutely did. And if you're listening, Takeda Pharmaceuticals, I'm not going to bother you anymore, I promise.
Great, Philip. Now we're implicated.
I need a little excitement in my day, man. I go to work, I come home.
Listen, you got the green screen background. You're a hacker. You're in it.
Right.
Also, you could be anywhere.
I could be on a boat.
You're definitely not at the home where you never leave.
That I never leave. With my new
Who
auto
knows?
mower.
Who knows?
So yeah, so then we transition into eventually starting up Rascal with the other Rascals.
Yeah. So while I was doing tabletop writing, I was doing. I did some articles for Polygon. I was writing about actual play in Dimension 20 there. Then I started writing at the site called The Fundamentals, which is a volunteer-run site that writes about all things kind of nerdy. Then I started writing for this show called Tabletop News for a very short amount of time.
Oh, nice.
Did not do that for very long. That's a whole thing that I have an NDA that I can't talk about, but I can make general statements about how I feel about it, like this. And then I ended up stopping doing that. Met Lynn Kodega, met Chase Carter. We started Rascal, and the rest has been history. About a year in, we brought in Thomas and Kaylin, and it's honestly been so incredible. It's been one of the coolest things I've ever done.
Yeah, I will. So full transparency, I do remember when Rascal started, I was kind of like, I don't know if this will work. Because, like, me being the cheapskate where it's like $5 can get me, like, paint instead of, like, like, do I really need a news site that I'm paying for kind of thing? And then it was legit the Wormwood article that kind of sold me. That,
oh my god, that freaking article, yeah.
like, I saw that, like, when I'm reading that, and then it goes, like, this post is for subscribers. Like, no, I want to know! Because, like, I'd been watching their videos, and, like, I had seen, and so it's like, it's one of those, anytime you hear anything bad about Wormwood, if you've been watching the videos, it goes, yeah, that tracks. Because like, they just, it's almost like the reality TV kind of thing, where...
Oh, absolutely.
So then it was like, all right. And then I subbed, and then I was like, oh, this is what I've been missing, where it's just like the in-depth, like, investigative reporting.
Yeah, we've done quite a lot of that, actually. We did our first big investigation that we did. I did some investigations into, like, itch.io, like, not paying people. We did investigations into Wonders of the First, if you remember that card game and that nonsense that happened. I did an investigation into World of Game Design, which
that was Rascal. I was trying. I wanted to think that was that. I actually forwarded that article to. So I am in, like, one of the group Slacks for the Nova Open convention, and they have World of Game Design as a retailer there, and I was like, y'all need to read this, like.
Yeah, that was a 3-month-long investigation that I did. There I talked to, like, dozens of sources about how this company has exploited them. I spoke to, like, the employees of it about how it was allegedly an abusive workplace. Learned that he was using free Mormon labor to move product. There was a lot happening with that story. It is not going to toot my own horn here, but it's been called one of the best pieces of investigative indie tabletop role-playing game journalism, which is real niche, but I'll take it.
Hey, you know what? I would agree. It's pretty good. I don't know. Like I said, the Wormwood article was pretty good there too. I would put them, like, equal.
That was a messy story.
Yeah.
Oh god, Thomas, like, credit to Thomas for taking that bullet, because oh god.
Yeah. And like you mentioned, I mean, these are the same folks that are, brought you the OGL disaster that basically lit a fire under everyone's butt to play indie games.
Yeah, fundamentally changed the industry a couple years ago. Absolutely.
And we have Hasbro to thank for that one.
In a real roundabout way, yeah.
That was my favorite thing, is, like, seeing Paizo run out of Pathfinder stock because of D&D shot themselves in the foot. Like, there's nothing there's nothing as delicious as the sweet, sweet taste of irony.
Such good Schadenfreude. Really delicious.
Yeah, which is, as Rosabito points out, that's why we have Tales of the Valiant, which is what we're running in our we're running in a Patreon 5e game. And I love it because I don't feel bad about playing 5e now because I'm not playing 5e. I'm supporting an indie company.
And that's always better, honestly.
Right.
You don't need to give your money to the corporations. You can give them to little guys.
Yeah. You do not, in fact, gotta hand it to Hasbro.
You never gotta hand it to Hasbro.
But yeah, so, like, for those that are just hearing about Rascal for the first time, it's not just the investigative journalism because that takes time. Can't be having those kind of bangers like once a week.
No, it takes so much time. We're currently working on like half a dozen investigations right now and still managing to put stuff up on the site every day.
So there's a lot
Every
of
business day.
a lot of like small indie, especially like you're talking about small indie RPGs. There's a lot of those on there. There's been a decent amount of miniature stuff. Like there's an article about talking about Adepticon. There was one about Salute that was earlier this week, last week, I believe.
Yeah. Kaylin wrote about her
Right.
experience going to Salute. We got Solo Borg. We try to get a really nice range of miniatures wargaming from Kaylin. We get indie RPGs from Thomas and me and Chase. We are getting more into now OSR stuff. We're trying to really broaden our perspective on like all the many iterations of what gaming is.
Right.
Chase does some trading card game, like TCG reporting, which is great. The piece that he did recently about the Japanese trading card game
Okay,
that's made.
so we had that in our news bits. Was that an
Ugh.
April Fool's joke? Because it was on
No,
April
that's
1st.
real.
Okay, I
No
hope.
joke, that's real.
I hope so. So it was. I didn't have it. I wasn't logged in on my tablet, so I couldn't scroll down to see the whole article. So at the time, and I just forgot to look into it. But that was amazing.
It was so heartwarming. It's really such a beautiful piece.
I recently read the how RPGs get disability wrong. That was a very interesting article.
Yeah,
Which,
that was from one of
as-
our contributors.
Yeah, as someone that's not, you know, I'll say traditionally disabled, just having that extra mindset that I don't usually, the perspective I don't usually get. Rusted Beetle as the official Snapships tactics missionary wants you to interview them over at what was it, Lynn something Games.
You can send, if you want us to cover something, you can send us an email at tips@rascal.news.
There you go.
There we go.
I've actually also been experimenting with OSR.
It's a really interesting community that's doing some really cool stuff.
Yeah, like I saw there was there's like a whole book that's just coming out. I think it's called Knock. It's like Volume 5. It's on. I think it's on Kickstarter right now. It's just a collection of stuff for like OSR style games because they're all basically clones of either original D&D or like the second edition advanced. So, you know, each game might focus on something specific niche, but considering that they have the same kind of core ingredients, all the things can, like, if you make something for one, you can kind of use it in whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
Which, by the way, didn't you Philip, you backed Knave, right? The Knave second edition?
Yes, I did.
So that is considered an OSR game.
Okay. The old school Renaissance.
Yes.
Okay, gotcha. We're throwing out alphabet soup. I got no idea what we're talking about, man.
Philip's my everyman that keeps me in check when I start getting too niche. Lynn Vander Studios.
Love that. We need that.
You gotta have the
So old school it's basically people going back to the 80s style of playing D&D, where it's like the you'll hear it also called BX clones because it's the basic and expert versions of original D&D.
I was on Kickstarter.
But like,
Yeah,
have you
I
ever
got
heard of
Knave.
THACO, Philip?
Heard of?
THACO?
Yes, it was like something armor class and
Yeah.
something.
2-hit armor class 0. Yeah, I had
Yes.
to I had to mess around with that the past couple weekends playing that. So yeah, I am versed now in THACO.
Real clunky and chunky, and a lot of people love those games. I
But-
love reading the books.
Yeah.
Playing, I have yet to venture into playing an OSR game, actually.
But
Except Mothership.
to its credit, you can make a character in 10 minutes
So true.
because it
So
might
true.
die 10 minutes later.
Kaylin did a really good piece about Doom Song, which is another OSR style
Oh,
game.
is that the one where it's where
You're
is
like
that?
grave diggers.
Doom Song. That's the studio in the UK, isn't it?
Yeah.
So yeah, I heard about that before the Rascal article because so the studio that makes that game shares a building with the people that do the Jugs podcasts, JUGGZ, who are a bunch of ex GW employees that all do
Oh.
they all do basically YouTube stuff about miniatures gaming now, and they started a podcast talking about it, and they had the guys come on and do character creation.
Oh, nice.
And so like they made
Hell yeah.
their so like there's an episode where they like go through and make characters for everybody. And it's one of those that like it's almost like I want to get just for the character. I don't know if I'd ever play the game part of it, but like I could just sit there and just make characters all day long off of this game.
And sometimes that's all you need to do.
Yeah.
Go back to our roots of making characters and never getting to play because we couldn't find a group.
Oh yeah. Or like you know, when I tell people that like I may have just got into Caesar Inc. That's who makes Doom Song. That's the people I'm talking
Yeah.
about. Where I got into BattleTech in the late 90s, early 2000s, but not playing the official rules because it was mostly just my brother and I looking up how to build our own mechs and just filling out all of those sheets and like loading up all of our characters or our mechs with like every armor you could possibly do.
Yeah, no, Kaylin's piece about this is really, really interesting. It really made me want to check out the game. That is the best thing about being like my job being to report on tabletop games is there's so many cool things and it is my job to like sift through it, which
Yeah.
can be a lot, but then when one of my colleagues goes, "This is really good. You should look at it." I know it's already been vetted.
Yeah, that's like literally the point, the reason we shifted to like, because like we don't always have the time to play and review games, so we're like, let's just bring people on and let them talk about their cool thing.
Mhm.
Like last week, we had the people from Doomlings on, and they wanted me to like review the game, and I was like, I do not have time for that, but you can come on and talk about it yourself. And then Philip ended up loving the discussion. He's like, I want to review that now.
Oh,
It
hell
looks
yeah.
so great. It's right there.
Yeah,
It's
it
right
like
there.
literally showed up today.
Hell yeah. Nothing better than a review copy.
Oh,
See, I was just thinking the problem is I couldn't work at a job like yours because you said, oh, everything's already been properly vetted, which makes the Rickroll that much sweeter.
when you send the Rickroll instead of the actual thing you need to
Yes.
check out.
Oh, it makes it that much sweeter. You know, like they would never do that to me. Never gonna do it. Damn it.
I've been bitten by that before.
Happens to the best of us.
Yeah, Rusted Beetle posts one RPG I'm looking for. I'm pretty sure he posted in our Discord too. Mission Impossible, where the players play 3 raccoons in a trench coat pretending to be an international spy saving the world. I mean,
yeah,
it's like
I'm pretty sure that was on the announcement section of Rascal.
probably. And then there's like I recently bought at our local store the Cocaine Owlbear RPG,
Oh yeah.
the Honey Heist hack.
Really good.
Oh yeah.
That was such a great movie.
I just love the description of it. It's great. So what's it like? Like, okay, so obviously the news piece and sifting through it, but what is it like when you get to the actual investigative journalist part? Because sometimes you find niceties, and sometimes there's some no niceties in there as well.
Well, the investigative journalism part is almost exclusively no nice things.
Yeah, fair.
That's pretty exclusively terrible things. Otherwise, we wouldn't really have a story there. Which is why we balance out everything else so much with like writing about games that we love and doing games criticism and talking about this art form and industry in this way. But when you start doing an investigation and you start really getting into it, it's the best way to describe it is almost like if you have a t-shirt that has like a loose thread. You're
Oh
like,
no.
oh, there's like a little something right here, and you start pulling at it. Either like it comes right off, and you're like, oh, there's nothing really to this. Like I just got to snap it off, and now everything's fine again. Or you just kind of pull it, and it keeps unraveling, and just like underneath everything is just a mess. Because this industry is full of people who are really passionate about games, but aren't really like business savvy. They've like typically haven't worked in other industries. They don't know how to make contracts work. They don't know what they don't know. And so there are the people that end up being at the top that end up exploiting everyone. And so that it tends to be the same patterns over and
Oh
over
yeah.
again. And like it's done in unique different ways every single time. Like the World of Game Design and the Wormwood pieces are two totally different vibes of guy, but ultimately it is like a rich or rich a guy who wants to have a lot of money and power in this small pond and be a very big fish in this small pond. And how is he doing that
Right.
in this specific way? That's usually what ends up happening.
How do you decide which fires to cover, especially these days when there's the whole forest is on fire?
Yeah. We end up a lot of it when it comes to like investigations, it ends up being like who's willing to talk to us because a lot of journalism is
Oh
dependent
yeah.
on being able to corroborate things and being able to verify things. And so if people are able to talk to us and provide us with sources and be like, I can prove that this happened and I'm not just like saying it, that's a huge foundation of everything. Like I wouldn't have been able to do the World of Game Design story if I hadn't had 100 pages of emails and contracts to back everything up. If I didn't have pictures, but then when it comes to like what do we report on when we look out in the world, it's like what is really pressing right now that we can bring a gaming angle to. Like I've done a lot of climate reporting at Rascal. Like I've reported on like Hurricane Helene, or I've reported on flooding that's happened down in Brazil, and the way that those things have very specifically impacted tabletop games. So like with Hurricane Helene, I was talking to a bunch of game designers who had to be displaced and like were using games to keep their morale up. Or with the Brazil floods, there was Jumbo Editorial, which is Brazil's biggest game publisher, had one of their warehouses entirely flooded, and so all of their stock
Oh.
from that warehouse was gone. Yeah, and so like that's how you bring in the real world that's going on right now because we don't exist outside of the real world, we exist with the real world. And that's the best way to show that because I think a lot of times, like Chase wrote a piece about this, no politics in gaming. I think a lot of people go
Oh
to
yeah.
games for escapism, which is really, really fair. Like, I think we all need escapism. We all need to not think about the horrors. But when you're like operating a business and when you're living in the real world, it's inevitably going to influence things. And so just being aware of how it's influencing stuff rather than just saying, no, I don't want any of that. I don't want to touch it at all is the easiest way to not just let things keep getting worse.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I was talking with my younger brother earlier, and I had mentioned that I had started playing World of Warcraft again, and he was like, "Well, given the state of the world, I can't blame you for wanting to jump into get lost in another world."
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why I love games so much though, is because like you can get lost in another world, but you're still doing it with other people.
Yeah.
Like that's my whole thing about it is like everything's going to feel so much worse if you're just alone and trying to like cut yourself off from the world, but if you're like really sitting in that with other people, it all of a sudden becomes a lot easier.
Yep. I found the article about the OGs on TCG.
Oh, it's so good.
It is
Oh, it's
good.
so nice.
What was it? There was another article that while you were talking, it reminded me of another, and I'm pretty sure it was. Anyways, yeah. Nowadays, especially since there's the newsletter also that has like the list of Rascal
Mhm.
articles. Sometimes it's I'll hear about it kind of first before, and then like usually later I'll switch over to like my feeds and then see like all the different articles.
Yeah. I've discovered people read newsletters a lot more than I thought they did.
Yeah, well, that's because like it's that number. It's that number that you want not to be there. Like you want inbox 0 versus like, oh, I gotta like, okay, am I gonna sit down on the toilet and scroll through my news feeds for all that? Versus 2 hours earlier, I was already clearing out my inbox.
No, yeah, absolutely. My inbox, sometimes you just give up. Like I'm looking at my inbox. Ooh, I'm just not gonna. My personal email, my work email, I make sure I get every single one of them.
Right.
My personal email, tens of thousands of emails.
Yeah. Like Recipe said, I usually find it fairly easy to not delve into politics when gaming, but now that's extremely difficult. Yeah.
Yeah. We exist in the world.
Awesome. Sean just sent a tip money-wise to Rascal. Hope to subscribe soon. You're doing important work. Sorry.
Thanks, Sean. I really appreciate that.
Recipe wants to know what's your favorite contribution to Rascal.
Oh, well, that's really interesting. World of Game Design is definitely up there. It's one of my big ones.
Right.
I have I have so many pieces that I love. We just recently did our year in review zine that we're publishing. And so it's an anthology of like all of our best pieces that we put out this year, in the first year that we've existed. Another one that I really love, the two that are in there, is a piece of actual play criticism I did about this show called Voices in the Wood that is like a radio play set in a fictitious world using Void 1680 AM. And it's like a dystopian world where this kid is like doing a high school project where he like got all of this music from the outside, and now he is learning about his dystopian world through listening to this music. It's so interesting and so cool. And like a piece of criticism for a medium, actual play, that is like developing and still kind of in this weird middle form. And so getting to be one of the first people to write criticism in this way, like how there's literary criticism or film criticism, but getting to do about actual play, I think is really cool. And then I did, in February, I published a piece where I went to a scale war game of January 6th.
Oh, I remember that. I remember the article.
Yeah, it was crazy. Philip, you look like you have thoughts. Your face.
Void 1680 AM. I was
Yes.
I saw that, I heard that, and I was like, and then Sean said that's excellent. I'm like, all right, what are we talking about here?
It's a really good game. Love Void 1680 AM.
Playlist building game. Okay, this is
Yeah. And then you play as a radio host and you're like engaging with the callers. So it's
nice.
super cool. It's super cool.
Yeah, as you get into like the indies, you start seeing some really wicked designs. Like there was the in the free RPG day last year, one of the zine collections. There was the one where it was like, I think it was a solo RPG where you play as the last remaining mod on an empty Discord server, on like a dead Discord server.
People get real into their art when they make indie games. You can get a real specific experience, and it's so cool.
Oh, here we go. I was trying to find the the January 6th war game.
Yeah, so I did the initial piece, which kind of recounts my experience of playing this game literally days after Donald Trump got inaugurated, which was surreal. And then I interviewed the creators of the game about like what they were trying to say and what they were trying to do. And they hadn't really considered it besides like, oh, this is cool. They hadn't really thought about the fact that they're playing a game with like real people that could actually show up and perhaps do violence if they didn't like what they were doing.
Right.
And they were like, no, that would never happen. And I was like, you know what game we're playing, right?
Yeah. Like, are you sure you understand the issue here?
Yeah. So it was really interesting. And so we included the original piece in the anthology because getting that in print felt really important.
Right. Oh, here it is. I think this is the original one. Yeah, Red Hats, Red Blood role playing the January 6th insurrection in a Brooklyn warehouse.
Yeah. Ooh, it's wild. That was a crazy experience.
Shaw says, "Yeah, that tracks for historical wargaming." Based on what I've seen, yeah, no,
Hmm.
you end up in the the Jurassic part. You thought of you could, it not if you should.
Exactly. Yeah. And it was a really profound experience. I had a really powerful emotional experience, but it made me realize like, oh, some games actually, it's more about what you bring to the game than what the game itself is saying.
Right.
Yeah. So those are the two pieces I think that have maybe meant the most to me. I wrote also a cool piece about actual play and porn, about why people want authenticity.
Right.
Yeah.
There's a lot of actual play articles on there. Like there was one last week or the week before about children in
Mhm.
actual play, which is like, yeah, that's something we're seeing a lot, especially with like YouTubers. Like going, there's the woman in court right now for uh, child abuse on her kids. That was like a
Mhm.
popular family vlogger.
Yeah, and that's what the piece kind of talks about is like what is the ethics of including children in actual play? How are the people that are doing it? What are they doing differently or the same? And really kind of grapples with this idea of like, is it ethical to make something with your children in a public forum? And what is your goals behind doing it? It's a really cool piece. Another contributor of ours, Adam Vitcage, we get to something we really get that's really cool that we get to do because Rascal is reader supported. We want to make sure we pay everyone ethical rates because so many sites that still do exist don't pay people at all or well.
Right.
And so every single contributor that like writes for the site, it's $300 an article minimum. Um, so that's really, really cool. We sometimes pay more for stories that are like really big or really nuanced. We had a reporter from Iran write about what it was like to have the tabletop scene in Iran.
Oh wow.
And that was really cool.
So given
Yeah.
given the kind of hot button topics that you've been talking about on here,
Yeah.
what's because it's the internet, there's always the backlash. Like what has that been like? Especially because, given the kinds of things you're talking about, it definitely stokes the fire of certain groups that may or may not have been in that January 6th war game.
For sure. For the most part, actually, we haven't broken containment too much about people who are super vitriolic against us. That's the benefit of us kind of being like it's the benefit and detriment of being such a small site of like we don't get the exposure for the stories that we would like to get us more money, but also we kind of the audience is very self-selecting. Like you have to want to pay money to read the articles we're writing. And so people typically aren't going to pay money to read something that they don't agree with to that degree. Um, but then sometimes there are free articles. Like I wrote about the Crit Awards getting canceled because of like their uh anti-Zionist support of Palestinians during the genocide. And so I wrote that piece. I wrote about everything that was going on, what the nuance of it all was. And then I had a hit piece written about me.
Oh,
Like someone went deep into my social media history and like dug up everything about me and wrote this article for this like libertarian site. And I had to kind of like go private on social media for a couple of days. So like that it happens, but it's not as often as you might expect, thankfully. I think also a lot of that's because we don't post on Twitter anymore. But
fair. What about for
yeah.
like the big articles like Wormwood and uh, world of game design? Has there been any like I know there was the like Wormwood even did a response video to the article. I remember seeing that, and that was funny in and of itself. Because it's like
Typically, the old
it's like the GIF where it's like the point and then it's like you.
Mm-hmm.
But
Typically, the only people we get backlash from are from the subjects of the article because they're like, I don't agree with this. And it's like, well, there's so much evidence to kind of
Right.
show it doesn't matter whether you agree with that or not.
But you haven't had to work on
Typically,
anything
yeah.
like legal wise, people.
Not yet. Not yet. We'll see. We'll see with some of
Right.
the stories that we're currently working on. We'll see what that looks like. But we are in touch with this group called Lawyers for Reporters, which does some really great pro bono work for independent journalists who can't afford to have legal teams. That's also the benefit of having an LLC. Is so if you
Yeah.
say something and people want to sue you, the company is the one that has the issue.
Right.
But yeah, and with the like attacks on journalism happening right now, and with Pam Bondi saying that the subpoena rules for journalists no longer apply, and like the attacks on journalism, who knows how long that's going to be the case? And I didn't realize that writing about games might be such a dangerous career choice for me, but we'll see.
Yeah. But are y'all still in the middle of your pledge drive?
No, our pledge drive happened for our 1 year anniversary during the month of March. We
Okay.
are going to be running another one later this year, where we are going to be doing like a bunch of special content and a bunch of like promotion towards raising awareness of worker-owned journalism and what we're doing and trying to pay ourselves a bit of a living wage. Because of the pledge drive we did earlier this year, we ended up getting to give ourselves a raise and get a little bit closer to a living wage.
Nice.
But then the dollar kind of dropped, and then the people who are not in America have less money. It's difficult, but we did get to give ourselves a raise, which was huge and so nice.
Awesome. Well, if people are listening to this and you're intrigued by some of the articles here, I'll drop a couple of the ones we've talked about. I'll drop a couple of the links in the show notes. But you should definitely head over to rascal.news and check them out so that like it's nothing but this. It's pretty much what you see is what you get.
More or less, yeah.
So, anything else that people need to be aware of as far as things to keep an eye on?
Yeah, I mentioned it before. Our announcement section is a huge resource. It is free to access. You don't need a membership to read our announcement section. It is also free to post to, so you can kind of have one centralized place where people from all across the industry are posting what they are working on, crowdfunding projects, games that have been published, game jams, events, things like that, all in almost like a classifieds section
Right.
of a newspaper. Entirely free to post to, entirely free to read. You can reach out to us if you have something to promote at info@rascal.news or press@rascal.news. You can email us and we will get you set up with a contributor account so you can promote your stuff, because there's a real discoverability issue in tabletop, and all of it is kind of siphoned towards the big companies that get all of the media attention.
Awesome. Well, if people want to follow your stuff specifically, is there a good place on social media?
Yeah, you can follow me at Rowan Zeoli on Blue Sky, and that's kind of the only social media that I'm really on.
I feel it. That's kind of where I'm at these days. All right, Philip. I think it's time to roll that beautiful bean footage.
That's been our show. We want to thank Rowan for hanging out with us, putting up with Chris's terrible jokes. They're so bad, they're good. If you like what you see, you got to check us out, boardsandswords.com/live. It's got the link to the schedule and where we are going to be streaming. Also, check out boardsandswords.com. It's got links for all the things we've done in the past, including the link to our Patreon. You can back us on Patreon. You get access to the Discord and special hidden Discord channels that everybody knows about them, but that's fine. Chris also makes fun of your favorite games. There's dice that are going to go out eventually. We're working on it. We got to finalize the design. You got to pick the right font. It's all about the font style, guys. Okay. And you can find all that stuff on boardsandswords.com.
Also, well, you know what? I realized that, Philip, you just took out like a half of my script here. But email us, feedback@boardsandswords.com. That has got the links for letting us know who we need to have on next, who else we should have in the future. Next time, we're going to have actually Shane from Foundry, the virtual tabletop. We're going to have them on the show to talk about Foundry, which would be really fun because I've been deep diving into Foundry some, so that'll be tons of fun. Blue Sky at boardsandswords.com. And then, like I said, we'll be back in 2 weeks. Check us out at Patreon to help support the show. We'll be back 2 weeks with another show. In the meantime, remember that every gamer has a story, and this one got a little real.
Can't put the laugh track on top of that.
Awesome. That's going to be a wrap, everybody.
Hell yeah! Thank you guys so much for having me.
Oh, it was great. I'm always down to talk new stuff.
Absolutely, yeah.
So I'm going to kill the stream,
Now
guys.
I got a bunch of Rascal news articles open because I'm
Yeah,
talking
exactly.
about stuff. I'm like,
Yeah,
oh, what's this? Oh, what are you talking about? Oh, I'm gonna have this article now. I'm gonna read what's going
Now
on.
you've got a year to catch up on.
Yes.
If only there was a collection that you could use to help hit some of the highlights.
Oh, what a
only.
dream.
All right, I'm gonna kill the stream now, guys. Patrons will be in the patron channel here in